I am Doomsvince, and this is day 121 of Spawn Year.
Last issue I said if I hadn't known about it, I would never have guessed McFarlane had a co-writer. But I get the feeling Brian Halgwyn has more creative control this issue because while a lot of the plot elements feel like McFarlane's, there's almost no recapping at all and no scenes that go on for 3 pages to set up a development ever so slight it could hardly be considered a development at all. The story itself is, in a word, awkward. Am I really supposed to believe that everything that's happened the last 3 issues is because of a full moon? Really? Reading this issue, I fully expected the moon would be back above the graveyard, but nothing. At least I probably won't have to deal with any more Vince zombies today. Maybe Doomsvince is trying to keep me on my toes, introducing ideas here before they show up in the comic, and had no idea when he introduced the moon in the graveyard there would actually be a Spawn comic that did the same thing. Why would he expect that? It's ridiculous. I thought Doomsvince was obvious and uncreative with his horror motifs, but this book is worse. The full moon is supposed to explain the turf war, but why this sudden, mindless violence in the alleys but nowhere else is your guess as good as mine. Didn't Spawn take all Freak's darkness, manifest it into physical creatures, and send it back after him with his RPG-esque karmic force? Didn't the word karmic there imply that he was responsible for his actions and deserved what he got? Or maybe the full moon explains why he was able to incite so many bums to violence, but he himself wasn't affected by it. What's bizarre is suddenly inserting this detail now, when we're 2 issues from the end of that turf war, as far as I can tell, just to explain why the vampire Wolfram randomly attacks Spawn. And no, Wolfram isn't a senior partner at a law firm. So was the moon McFarlane's idea, or was it Halgwyn trying to make sense out of nonsense? Hey, I can sympathize. I've been trying to do that all year. Or the moon could just be another excuse for an amazing 2-page spread of Spawn leaping above the city. Probably my favorite effort from Capullo over the last 10 or so issues. Pictures over story. So Spawn, outraged by Wolfram's attack, predictably decides to try to trounce the little vampire werewolf-looking thing who dresses like he never made it out of the 70s. Spawn doesn't care that he's still in the dead zone where he was reduced almost entirely to necroplasm like yesterday, but Bootsy won't have any of it. This is supposed to be neutral ground. Wolfram talks about how he and Bootsy both wear the mark of heaven, and how Bootsy is going to be in big trouble when heaven tries him for saving Bobby and interfering in human affairs. Bootsy says he needs to talk to Spawn, but they don't get the chance. Police show up and they scatter. Wolfram turns into one bat and Spawn turns into tons of bats. When did he start doing that? Does it drain his power at all? I know his powers have been different since he started feeding on evil creatures, but how about some concrete rules? Pictures over story. Wolfram has more personality than your average Spawn character. He has spunk, and he loves being a vampire, regardless of what side he's playing for. And the idea of heaven using dark creatures in the war against hell might be interesting. So far, it's just kind of there. Meanwhile, Bootsy comes to Sam and Twitch and tells him that they need to help out Spawn. Something really bad is about to happen to him. And Sam and Twitch finally put together that there are too many people and events that all seem linked for no good reason and can't be coincidence. I sort of thought they realized that already, but here it's like an epiphany. Here's a hint, fellas. That elusive element tying you together with Spawn, Banks, Wynn, Twist, and Kincaid, his name is McFarlane. The only conspiracy is that you're all fictional characters in a comic book that's made up issue to issue. Really, don't think about it too hard. The last few pages are completely out of left field. I honestly thought for a moment I'd skip some pages. Spawn happens upon a kid who's about to be killed by religious zealots who look a lot more like gangbangers for worshipping the devil, I think. Wow, what are the odds? True to form, Spawn butchers them, then the kid reveals to the reader, but not to Spawn, that he's wearing the mark of heaven, which Wolfram alluded to earlier. The Spawn symbol with its colors reversed. How is that any less goofy than the anti-Spawn symbol? Heaven, you need to fire your marketing team. Get a little creative with your branding. This kid is apparently another dark creature working for Heaven, despite blubbering like a little kid while tied to a chair. Capullo kinda drops the ball here. He doesn't show us anything the narration boxes describe at the end besides the mark. One box describes the kid smiling, but that's not what we see, nor does Capullo draw his razor-sharp teeth. It is nice to see Spawn run off and do something for a change, even if it is just another hackneyed connection to all the mythos. If I squint real hard, I can see a glimmer of hope for this book. Oh, and what's Cagliostro doing on the cover? He's not even in this issue. Signed, Captain Logan.